What's up, YouTube? It's Zandar Legend here today with a deck tech review. I don't know if we're going to call it that, but this is Eldrazi Aggro for Standard. I brewed this today. I'm going to be playing at F&M tonight, so I'm sure there'll be tweaks after F&M. But let's go over the Eldrazi Aggro build that I have built today and kind of see everything we have in here and what it's going to do. Our first creature for aggro is going to be the Eldrazi Mimic. He's a 2/1 for 2, so we don't really have a 1-drop per se with creatures, but he does get the power and toughness of each colorless creature that comes into the battlefield, which will be every other creature we control. We're going to have 2 Eldrazi Displacers. This is a 3 mana with white, and this allows us to flicker for 3 mana being colorless, but everything in this deck's going to be colorless, and we're not going to have to worry about it. We're going to talk about some synergies and stuff later too. We're going to run 4 Eldrazi Obligators. This is a 3/1. It's got haste, and it's going to allow us to take over one of their creatures late game, or just get it out early game. Our last 3-drop is going to be a 3/2 Matter Reshaper. This is a really solid card that's going to give us card advantage early game if they kill it. And they're going to have to kill it because they can't just take 3 all the time. Thought-Knot Seer is our 4-drop for a 4/4. It allows us to Thought Seize. Let's go into some combos real quick before we keep going with the creatures. We're able to flicker our Thought-Knot Seer, which, yeah, it does let them have card draw, but they're always going to be drawing into something that's typically not as good, and you know you're removing a good threat from their hand. That's one of our flicker abilities. We can also flicker. We can block something, flicker our own target, block the damage unless it has trample, and save our creature if we need to. Very solid for even our low-end creatures or our high-end creatures. We can also flicker something else on the board for the Mimic, in case we don't have a creature to play on turn 5 or turn 6, but we already have, let's say, a Reality Smasher or Seer on board. That's another thing we can flicker that's going to give us a Mimic. However, that is going to put it back into play tapped, which is going to kind of hurt us, so we don't want to do that too much. But we can also flicker their attacking creatures. So we're running 4 of Reality Smasher. This is a 5/5 Trample with haste. Ridiculous card. If they try to counter cast a spell against it, they have to discard another card from their hand, so that's going to give us card advantage. And the highest curve we have here is 6, which is the Oblivion Sower. The nice thing about the Oblivion Sower, it's kind of that mental threat of we get to take 4 of their cards and exile them, no matter what, even if they counter it, and we can hit some lands if they didn't hit them. So it could give us some, card draw advantage, or, just a 5/8 on board is really hard to deal with. We're running a play set of Ghostfire Blades. For 1 mana, and you get it +2/+2. Every time we equip this, it's only going to cost 1 to equip. Nice thing is, Matter Reshaper, not only can it hit all of our lands, hit a good chunk of our creatures, but it can also hit Ghostfire Blade as well. Now keep in mind, if it does hit something bigger, or it does hit some of our other spells, they come into our hand, so we get card draw off of the Reshaper as well. One of our biggest threats in this deck is going to be Instance. Instance is one thing that's hard to deal with, so that's why we're going to be running 4 negates, the counter target non-creature spell. I don't think our opponent will see this coming. Maybe they will, as we do have some blue sources that will be on the table, but it's not going to be really obvious what's going on the first couple of times people play this deck. This is really to help out against 4-color Rally, if they're trying to drop a bunch of tokens, Collected Company, Rally the Ancestors, name it. I mean, that's there to keep us alive. Spatial Contortion, we're running a 4 of this. This is really good because it's going to allow us to pump our creatures. We're actually playing the aggro build, so it's going to give us 3 more attack and -3. If we have a Sower on board, we could potentially do this a couple times and swing in for the Sower would be an 11. It'd be an 11/2 at that point. But I mean, it could really do the last little bit of lethal damage on the board. That's it as far as what we're running and kind of why we're running it. Let's go into the mana base, which is actually really, really fun. We're running a lot of the pain lands because we're not going to take pain from them. The only rare chance we're going to have to take pain is for a red or a white. So pretty much 1, maybe 2 damage. So it's kind of nice. It's not like running fetch lands and shock lands and all that kind of stuff. Running 4 Yavimaya Coast. We're running this for a blue source. 4 Shivan Reefs. We're running for a blue source and a red source. 4 Battlefield Forges for a red and a white source. 2 Caves of Kozilek for a white and a black source. And that's going to allow us a really good curve, and I'll explain why here in a second. We've got 2 Seagate Wreckages. This allows us, if our hand's empty, we can spend 3 mana and tap it and draw a card. 4 Crossroads. This is colorless, and you can pay 1 life and gain anything. or gain 1 mana of any color for a colorless creature or ability. And then 4 Runes of Ornn Reef. This is the only card that comes into play tapped. Every other land does not come into play tapped, which helps us with that aggressive rushing build. And Runes of Ornn Reef is just too powerful in this deck not to be running a 4 of. There's a good chance if we've got 2 or 3 of these on the board, we can pay some mana cost to drop, even late game, we could drop, let's say, another 3 drop of a Displacer. That's a 3/3. And there's a chance we could pump it 4 times and make it a 7/7. It's not going to happen every time. It's going to be pretty rare, but you have the ability to make it happen, which is really nice. The great thing about this color combination, it allows us, for white, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sources, if I'm not mistaken, right? 10 for us to draw into a white mana source. For red, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sources for red. And then for our negates, we have the same thing. We have 12 as well. 4 from the reef, 4 from the coast, and 4 from the crossroads. I think it's going to be a really interesting build. I don't know if I wanted to put mirror pools in the main board. It came into play tapped. I didn't really want to do that. I'd be really interested to see what we need to change about this. But the whole point of this deck is pure aggression and really just messing with their head as far as the reality smasher messes with their head because they got to do 2 things to get rid of it. We get some Thoughtseize, we get to steal some of their stuff and exile it. They're just really not going to see what's coming. If they do manage to drop something really big, we're going to be able to steal it with the Obligator and probably swing to win the game. Ghostfire Blades, if something dies, it always remains on the board, so we're just going to attach it to something else. I mean, that's +2/+2 on any colorless creature. I feel really solid about this all the way around, and now we're going to go into the sideboard for this deck, which actually I'm not going to do a separate video. I'm just going to do it right here. Hello, hands. Warping Will I really wanted a 4 of in this main deck. Unfortunately, in Standard, it's not the best. There's not too many targets we can hit with it, but the targets we can are good, like Jace, a lot of really early aggression stuff, like Storm Chaser Mages, Monastery Swift Spears, some tokens. It allows us to generate a Scion if we want it, but the problem is it only counters sorceries, and there's only about a handful, and I literally mean 4 sorceries. Nobody's really running them. Everybody's playing all instants, so this really hurts us where we really need that negate in main board. Great sideboard option, just not for our main threat. 4 of Kozilek's Return, and yeah, I've only got 2 of them. They're expensive. I still got to get them. This is going to be a couple different options for this. This is going to allow us to easily destroy a whole bunch of tokens if they drop, which is really the main reason we're running it. Nothing's big enough on the mana curve to make the 5 mana activate unless we go into our sideboard. We're running 2 Endbringers. This is just in case we got to go to late game. He gives us a little more abilities. He'll be another 6 drop, but he's only a 5/5 instead of a 5/8, so he's easier to get rid of. And more importantly, he doesn't exile some of their stuff immediately. He does allow us to, if they got some type of mechanic that's keeping us from attacking or doing something, we can tap and ping for damage, and we can also tap him for card advantage, or make it to where something can't attack or block, which is good. 2 Dread Defilers, which I really want to see if this is going to be a good main board card. 7 mana for a 6/8, a little expensive, but being able to pay 4 mana to throw anything, exile anything out of our graveyard to deal damage equal to its power, insanely good. I mean, we could just drop this on turn 7, and on turn 8, if our mana curve's good, we could flick 2 things for another 8 damage if it was Thought-Knot Seers. Pretty much it off the top of my head, but, even Reality Smashers, if they manage to get rid of them. Really good card. I'll be interested to see what happens with it. We have 1 Kozilek, the Great Distortion. In case we are playing somebody that's just getting us into the late games, we really need something to really finish the game off. And that's also our last sideboard as well. It's 2 Ulamogs. These are mainly for any games that they're trying to stall us to late game where they get an advantage. And, we're going to get the advantage late game, especially if we pocket hold some negates to make sure these get out. We're just completely set. Even if they counter Ulamog, exiling 2 permanents of our choice, it's going to be too deadly with everything else that's happened beforehand. So, guys, this is Eldrazi Aggro. This is a homebrew from Zandar the Legend. If you haven't subscribed or liked my video, I'd definitely appreciate it if you do that. We do some videos like this time to time. I want to start doing more of them, so let me know in the comments what you thought about this homebrew. If you think it could be super competitive, or if you think I'm going to get stomped. More importantly, would you have splashed something else for green? Or maybe some Wild Slashes for red? Maybe some extra Caves of Kilios instead of one of these so we could run Murderous Cuts? Let me know in the comments below, how would you make this deck your own? Because whether you like this one or not, there's a deck here with Eldrazi, and it's going to be happening the whole time it's in Standard, whether we like it or not.